AGM has been making rugged phones for outdoor use since 2011. Now with the H6, they set out to create a rugged phone that does not feel like a rugged phone. Most truly rugged phones are super bulky. They do not fit easily in your pocket, and it's generally like carrying a brick around for a phone. So this time around, AGM set out to make a practical rugged phone that you can use for your everyday phone that will fit in your pocket but can still take a beating. But is it truly rugged? That is what we are going to find out in this video. Now AGM's marketing video shows this phone falling straight onto the concrete, smashing into rocks, and being tossed down concrete steps with no problem. So let's see if it lives up to the hype. At the time of writing this video, it is priced at $219, so hit the link in the description and the pinned comment below for more information or to purchase one. Now let's see what's in the box. In the box you've got your warranty card, you got some AGM stickers, you got your quick start guide, you got your user manual. Then underneath the phone there's an 18-watt USB charger and USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Let's unwrap this thing and take a look at the features and the specs. It does come with a screen protector pre-installed. On the top it's got a 3.5mm headphone jack. It's also got a lanyard hole at the top. Here's the right side with volume and power buttons. It's got screws along the side. It's got bumpers on the corners for drop protection, which we will be testing coming up. It is rated military standard 810H shockproof, and it can survive falls up to 1.8 meters onto concrete. It's got 1217 speaker, IP68, IP69K dust proof and waterproof up to 1.5 meters underwater for 30 minutes. The ports and connectors are sealed with rubber plugs, and we will be testing this out later in this video. USB-C port uses USB 2.0 with transfer speeds of 480 megabytes per second. It's got a customizable key on the side. And one thing that I really like is you can set it to take a screenshot when you press the customizable key. It's got a 3-slot SIM card with 2 SIM slots plus dedicated micro SD slot. Now it runs on an octa-core Unisoc T606 chipset with Mali G57 GPU, which we will be testing coming up. It's got 256 gigabytes of storage that can be expanded up to 512 gigabytes. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM and an extra 8 gigabytes of adaptive RAM. It's got a 6.56-inch 90Hz IPS HD Plus display running at 720 by 1612 resolution, and it does have a floating frame design, so the screen is positioned below the frame. So the frame absorbs the impact instead of the screen. Now it does have face unlock and fingerprint unlock. The fingerprint sensor is one of the best that I have ever used. Usually I have trouble getting fingerprint sensors to unlock, but this one unlocks very easily pretty much every time I press it. On the back, apparently mine comes with a scratch pre-installed on it for some reason. It's also got a 50 megapixel AI main camera with Samsung JN1 sensor, 2 megapixel macro camera with Galaxy Core GC02M1 sensor, and a flash. On the front it's got an 8 megapixel front camera with Samsung 4H7 sensor. Man, that's scratched though, huh? I am sure that yours will not have a scratch like that, but mine sure does, doesn't it? It's got a 4,900 mAh battery that we will test coming up to see how long it lasts. And there is no wireless charging. It runs a clean Android 13 with no added apps or bloatware. It does have a pre-installed AGM after-sales service app, but you can uninstall that if you want to. It does feature NFC, OTG, and AGM says that they will deliver security updates every 6 months. Let's do some benchmarks. Here's the Geekbench 6 CPU benchmarks that I personally got. 377 single core, 1388 multi-core. Now again, the H6 is running an octa-core Unisoc T606 CPU. Geekbench 6 GPU benchmark was 453, and the H6 is running a Mali G57. PC Mark Work 3.0 performance test score was 8167, and the phone lasted 7 hours 53 minutes in the Work 3.0 battery life test. What about the call quality? Now here's a call that I made using the H6, and we're going to compare it to a call that I made using the AGM G2 Guardian and another phone, the Phone Max M10. First, let's play the H6. Hello, I'm calling to test the call quality on the AGM H6, and this is over 4G cellular, and there is some white noise playing in the background. Hello, I'm calling to test the call quality on the AGM G2 Guardian, and this is over 5G cellular, and there is some white noise playing in the background. Hello, I'm calling to test the call quality on the Phone Max M10. This is over 4G cellular, and there is white noise playing in the background. So the sound quality and background noise cancellation seem just as good on the H6 as they do on the G2 Guardian. Now, I actually think the sound quality is better on the H6 than it is on the G2 Guardian, which is quite a feat because the G2 Guardian costs 4 or 5 times more than the H6 does. And the sound quality is definitely not as good on the M10 as you can hear. Let's look at some battery tests. Now, in my test, 1 hour of calling drained the battery 5%, so with that we can expect to get 20 hours of calling. Video battery test. In my test, 1 hour of video at 100% brightness drained the battery 11%, which means we can expect to get 9 hours of video. Let's look at the gaming test. 1 hour of gaming in my test drained the battery 20%, so you can expect to get around 5 hours of serious gaming out of this phone. Let's do a standby test. 12 hours of my test drained the battery about 17%, which means you can expect to get about 70 hours or 2.9 days standby. Charging test. In my test, it charged from 0 to 20% in 25 minutes, 0 to 51% in 60 minutes, and 0 to 100% in 2 hours 22 minutes. Now here's some gaming examples. Call of Duty Mobile. Now, it held up better than I expected. I was even able to screen record the gameplay without any issue. Here's what it looked like on low graphics setting with high frame rate selected.
Enemy contact. Changing mag, cover me.
And here's what it looked like on medium graphics setting with high frame rate.
Enemy contact.
Let's try some Shadow Gun Legends. Now, I put it on ultra high graphics detail and 60 FPS. There was a tiny amount of lag, but 98% of the time it was super smooth. Diablo Immortal. Now, Diablo would only let me select 30 FPS and medium resolution, but I was able to select very high quality, and here is some gameplay in that mode. And if we put the graphics down to medium, here's what that looks like. All in all, I think it did great. So let's do some camera tests. Here are some low light photos.
Here is what the selfie video looks like. It's super dark out. It's like 3 in the morning, no sun. So give you an idea of that. And here is what the rear video looks like. Super dark out, no sun, 3 in the morning. Give you an idea of that. And here's what it looks like with the light turned on, the torch. Here is the selfie camera video with some light. It's like 10 a.m. Got some good light going on. So that is what that looks like. Here is the rear camera, daytime video with some good light. And the video does actually have up to 10x zoom on it. which lets you see, you can see pretty far down the street. I mean, it's obviously kind of pixelated and shaky, but you can see, and 10x is a pretty solid zoom.
Now here's a few more photos. I was personally impressed with how well it captured the frost on the ground here. Here's a couple photos using the zoom. And here's some macro shots. Again, I am very impressed with how well it captured the tiny ice crystals here, and I think it looks really cool. Now it's time for the durability test, starting with the scratch test. Now this test is designed to simulate having the phone in your pocket and then having the phone rubbing up against things like your keys, loose change, and other things like that in your pocket. So in this tumbler, we have got a bunch of super sharp nails, screws, and other really pointy objects. And here's what the phone looks like before. Now let's put the phone in there, close it up, and shake it. A lot. Now let's take it back out and see what we've got. So the screen looks just fine. There's no scratches or scuffs at all on it. I'm actually pretty impressed by that. Now, I forgot to film the back, but it also looks fine, and we will see it after the next test to prove it to you. The top and the bottom are a little scuffed and dirty, and they're about to get even more dirty because it is time for the dirt test. This time, we have got a tumbler full of garden soil, aka dirt. In goes the phone, and now we shake it. This will test to see if it really is IP68, IP69K dust proof. We'll find out if any dirt gets into any of the ports, the screen, or anywhere. Okay, let's take the phone back out, and you can see it is totally caked with dirt. We've even got dirt jammed up inside the speaker and around the charging port. Now, before we open the ports, let's rinse it off in the sink. It looks like that did the trick. The top is clean, no scuffs from the sharp objects, no dirt. Bottom still has some dirt jammed up around the charging port seal. Now I'm gonna try to rub it off with my shirt so that it doesn't get into the port. Okay, now let's open up the seal. It is totally clean and dry on the inside. No dirt and no water made it past this seal. And here's what the back looks like. You can see there's no scuffs from the scratch test at all, which is impressive. Now let's do a water test. Let's start a stopwatch and put this thing into this 3-gallon bucket full of water. Now AGM says the H6 is waterproof up to 1.5 meters underwater for 30 minutes. So let's leave it in here and see what happens. It has been 43 minutes underwater, so let's see if the phone still works. Uh-oh, the screen does not seem to be working. That is not what you want to see. Okay, there we go. It looks like the screen is working. Maybe it just doesn't work well with the screen wet, which is actually pretty common. That does appear to be the case. Actually, the screen is still wet right now, and it still seems to be working just fine. So 43 minutes underwater did not seem to harm the phone at all, which is great to see. Now let's do some drop tests. AGM says that the H6 is military standard 810H and is drop proof up to 1.8 meters or about 6 feet. So let's test this out. Now, military standard 810H means that it can be dropped onto concrete, but we're going to start this thing off with some wood, which is the 810G test. So first, let's drop it from about 3 feet. Okay, let's see how it did. It looks fine. It's got some markings on the corners from dropping it on the wood, but other than that, it looks great. Now let's bump it up to 5 feet. And it still looks great. So now let's do 6 feet, which is 1.8 meters. And it still looks great, so it's time to remove this wood. And now it's time to do the 810H test, which is dropping it straight onto the concrete. First, let's start off with about 2.5 feet, which is like it's falling out of your pocket. And it looks totally fine. Now let's drop it from 3 to 4 feet. Let's check it out. It still looks great. Okay, let's bump this up to 5 feet. Uh-oh, I've got some bad news here. The screen is totally shattered. But that's not the end of the story here. AGM actually sent me a second phone because they were adamant that this was a fluke and that the screen should not have cracked. And to be fair, I do think that they sent me some sort of pre-release model that was not meant to be sold to the public. For example, you can see here at the bottom of the screen, it says AGM G2, which is a previous model of AGM phones. So maybe this was just a test model and it wasn't totally up to par. So let's give it another go with the new phone that they sent me. We are going to drop it on all 4 corners and then the face from 3 feet. Now, I accidentally did not hit record on the other camera, but take my word for it, it still looks fun. And you'll see it here in a minute anyway. Now, let's drop it on all 4 corners, the back and the face, and remember to hit record. dropping at 6 feet or 1.5 meters onto concrete. Here we go. And ladies and gentlemen, the H6 has survived the 810H drop test. You can see there's no cracks. Well done, H6. Network and frequency bands. Here is a list of all the networks and frequency bands for the H6. Pros and cons. Pros. It is super slim and lightweight, and it's also super rugged and waterproof, so you're getting the best of both worlds here. You're getting a rugged phone that you can use every day. And it's under $300. Cons. Now there's no fancy thermal imaging or night vision or other crazy special features. It is not 5G, and the chipset is not the fastest chipset on the block. Bottom line, should you buy the H6? I would say you should buy the H6 if you want a rugged phone that is not like carrying around a giant brick. Hit the link in the description below to check it out or to purchase one. Let me know your thoughts about the H6 in the comments below, and then you can click right here for another great rugged smartphone video, and I will see you there.